Hello there, beautiful friends. From around the world, it's Blackenfist, and I'm here with...
Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today.
And we're doing here another thought for talk on when exactly is it when Goku learned how to fly? Which is actually a much more interesting question and something that a lot of fans do forget about, since most fans actually did start with Z. And of course, at the beginning of Z, Goku already learned or had, already knew how to fly. So some people actually are a bit confused by it, but we're going to have a little discussion. And as me and Qaaman have discovered, it's actually a lot more complicated than it seems. Just to put it flatly, there's actually differences within the manga and anime in which Goku learns how to fly. To put it simply, in the anime, Goku is depicted flying at much earlier than in the manga. He is depicted flying against his fight against Tien Shinhan. This is actually one of the main reasons why a lot of people speculate that Goku learned how to fly up on Kami's lookout. But the thing is, those scenes where Goku seems to be flying in the anime, and those scenes, it was completely different in the manga, in which it was just depicted as Goku jumping really high. As people that have seen the show, Goku has been depicted jumping at extremely high altitudes since he was a kid. So, as an adult, obviously, he would be able to jump even higher. And in the scenes where he's depicted flying with Tien Shinhan, what happens in the manga instead is that Goku jumps up and then gets hit right back down. He is not depicted staying up at that altitude like he is in the anime, which does cause some people to think he's actually learned how to fly at Kami's lookout.
Well, I find that really interesting too, Blackenfist, and you also want to point out the whole scenario with Piccolo.
Right. I think the feat Kamehameha in another instance are actually evidence of Goku not learning how to fly. But to elaborate even further, the first time we actually see Goku fly in the manga 100% definitively is actually not until he is in mortal danger by Piccolo's blast. Piccolo was about to shoot him with a blast, and Goku's body was completely destroyed. He could not move his body physically, and the only way he would be able to move his body is with ki. So he actually flew in that moment. So some people actually speculate that Goku actually didn't know how to fly at all up until that very point when his life was in danger, and it took his life being in danger for him to learn how to fly, which I actually find pretty cool that it took him that much to actually learn how to fly. So that's the first time we actually see Goku definitively fly in the manga, and really I think the things that support this is the fact that Goku uses a feat Kamehameha, even though it's in the anime. But the fact that he even uses a feat Kamehameha and actually really never uses this technique ever again probably tells you that he probably doesn't need it after that, because he already knows how to fly. He can already propel himself up in the air just using his ki. He doesn't need to use a Kamehameha to propel himself up in the air. But another interesting situation is when Goku jumps up into the air and then Piccolo shoots a blast at him. Now, in order for Goku to get away from the blast, to move out of the way, he shoots a blast to propel himself to the side. It seems to me that in the manga, Goku is using a lot of blasts to propel himself up in the air and to the side, which really tells me as evidence that Goku actually doesn't really know how to maneuver in the air. He needs like some sort of propulsion, like a Kamehameha, to move in the air, which tells me that he actually doesn't know how to fly, even though I will say, even though these scenes are pretty much the exact same way in the anime.
Well then, Blackenfist, you know what that leads us to, because we already know what our comment section is going to ask us. So then, when did all of the other Z fighters learn how to fly? Because first of all, at what point would you say Goku learned how to fly after we observed all of these different forms of it?
To put it simply, I would say that I think in the anime it's a pretty fair assessment to say that Goku probably learned how to fly at Kami's lookout. In the manga, however, I think it's pretty implied that the first time he actually did fly was when he was in mortal danger by Piccolo's blasts. Which, quite honestly, this is a side topic, but I really do feel that makes the scene a little bit more dramatic, considering the fact that he hadn't flown up to that point. But as for everyone else, we really don't know when they learned how to fly, because, as we all know, they all too already knew how to fly at the beginning of Z. So it could be that everyone learned how to fly after the tournament with Piccolo and Goku, and they just learned how to fly in the gap between Dragon Ball and Z. They just saw Goku do it. They saw Goku fly, and I guess everyone just hunkered down and trained and learned how to fly. So honestly, I don't think it's as interesting as the way Goku learned how to fly, but I guess that would be the explanation to it. I also want to add, I almost forgot to add this, but you know, the anime, of course, is behind the manga, and of course the anime staff already knew that Goku could fly, because the manga already was up ahead, and, you know, Goku was already depicted flying when he beat Piccolo in the final exchange where Piccolo was about to kill him. So it could be just that the anime tried to use those techniques earlier than was actually shown in the manga, which actually isn't really the first time that something was shown earlier in the anime than in the manga. One example is that Tien Shinhan and Chaozu were introduced at an earlier point in the anime than in the manga, so it wouldn't be the first time that this happened.
Well, I guess if I had to make a judgment for myself in terms of when I think they learned how to fly, I definitely think that you made a good enough point to prove that the anime and the manga go in two completely different directions, with it making a lot more sense for Goku to have learned how to fly when he was on Qaamans in the anime. Even though there was an inconsistency where he still had to use the Kamehameha, but then you can say that he probably didn't know flying as well at that point, and then you can argue that he kind of just forced himself to fly because he really didn't have a choice. But Tien and Chaozu already knew how to fly, though.
Oh yes, that's another thing. Tien and Chaozu, when they were first introduced, they already knew how to fly. But you know what's one funny thing is that the first character to learn how to fly, some people will say that Tien and Chaozu were the first characters to have flown or like learn the technique of flight in the series because they were first introduced knowing how to fly since the beginning. But I would say, guys, that it's pretty funny that Puar is the first character to learn how to fly, or at least is shown depicted flying, of course without using wings, because of course there are other characters that can fly with using wings. But it's kind of funny that Puar is overlooked in that respect. I mean, I don't know if Puar uses magic or ki. I mean, it's never ever specified how Puar is able to fly himself. Obviously, he is not using any natural means. He's using ki or magic or whatever the hell, you know? So...
Well, I think we both basically agree. I mean, considering that we, you know, went and looked at all of these things together, I mean, we kind of have to agree at this point.
Yes. So anyway, guys, that was our discussion on when Goku could fly, and I guess some of the other characters. And big surprise, Puar is actually the OG of flight in Dragon Ball, even though he never gets the credit. But anyway, guys, that has been our Thought for Talk topic. And we, of course, will bring you more of these in the future. I think the next one will probably be on Qaaman's channel, so look forward to that. But I've been Blackenfist, and I'm out, man.
Well, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.